Welcome back to SureFire Live. Thank you for joining me tonight. It's COVID kind of night. I just got diagnosed with COVID, man, I don't feel that bad. I feel a little funky, so I went in, and so I'm now quarantined and staying away from people. So who knows? I might just do more online stuff. I got an early comment. Kyle, welcome. Hey, y'all. Kyle from Alpine Chimney has joined us. Great to see you, Kyle. I love all the stuff you're doing. I love watching you. You're kind of building your company on Facebook, and everybody can kind of see what you're doing. I think it's really cool. Michael says, "Oh my goodness, sorry to hear that, Mike." Oh, that's okay. And then here we got the main COVID guy, Chad, who's pulling through. And I was a little worried about Chad the other day, and Chad is making it happen. We also got David. Yikes. Sorry, Mark. It's all right. It's in the world. It's part of the world now. And I am one, I'm one more of the statistics. So I'm all good. I appreciate your thoughts, but it is what it is. So tonight, I want to say something before I bring on our guest, Kent. And so at SureFire, we're going to start a new thing. If you're a subscriber, I think it's going to be called SureFire Office Hours. But what's going to happen is Jake Loeffler, one of the partners, and runs a great business, and he's going to basically have roundtables for SureFire subscribers once a week. If you're a subscriber, you're going to get an email, and it's going to have a link to the Zoom meeting. And I think it's going to be on Tuesday, so today, but at noon. So in the middle of the day, lunch break. If you want to jump on, ask questions, jump back off, or stay on for the whole thing. Those are actually also then probably going to turn into courses so that it's on SureFire, so you don't miss, and you can reach back in and listen to what other business owners are having. So typically you're gonna run into, how do I get my guys to use it? How do I use it? Show me the best ways to set it up. Show me the best ways to incentivize. The whole thing about SureFire working great is that, one, it's an amazing amount of information, but two, it doesn't do any good if people don't use it. So we're really going to take that on. If you're a SureFire subscriber, look for an email coming up for a open talk every week. Might do it every 2 weeks. If there's more need for it, we'll do it every week. In different parts of us will jump on and answer questions, but Jake Loeffler is going to be heading that up. All right, guys. Well, welcome. We've got a good group already starting this tonight. So I'm going to bring on Mr. Kent Wessley. Hey, Kent.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good, man. Well, I'm good under the circumstances.
Right. The COVID kids.
Yeah, unfortunately, we came back from Indiana from that event, and we've had a lot of people have it. So it's running through us. So we haven't had any serious cases, but it's kind of like the flu for almost everybody. So hopefully it'll stay that way. But so Kent, a lot of people know you, and but just for those who don't, I would like, what's so funny before we go into it, I read a thing today about Steve Jobs, and Steve Jobs said that when you're tired of telling your company or telling people about how to do something, that's about the time they're actually starting to hear it. And so you've been out talking for a couple of years now in the industry about what's coming, what's working, what isn't working. You've been from mountaintops, and you've got some really amazing stories. I'm excited for you to tell everybody kind of what you're learning right now, because it's the number one topic. And so with that, tell people just a quick, background of where you came from, how you found this chimney industry, and then let's go from there.
Sure. So I'm currently the COO for Ashbusters, and it's 4 years that I've been there now. I came from the home improvement industry, so windows, siding, doors, gutters, roofing. I was in that for about 20 years. I was with a big company up in Chicago. That was where they were based out of. And I opened up almost every one of their outside markets. So Rockford, Illinois, Madison, Milwaukee, played a part in Green Bay. So I had the whole startup thing, because even before home improvement, I did some startups in the high-tech sector. out on the West Coast in the 90s. And I always wanted to be a contractor. That was kind of my goal. And, as I started having kids and stuff, I figured out that that goal wasn't going to happen. So home improvement was probably about as close as I was going to get to it. So I did that. And in home improvement, in the model that we had, all of our installers, and we were running a lot of crews, like almost 100 crews of installers. And just like trying to find chimney people, it was really a struggle because they weren't employees, they were subcontractors. So we're already, they're not employees. So we're requiring to carry their own work comp, their own liability, drive their own trucks, their own gas, their own insurance, pay their guys out of their 1099 of what we pay them. And it was really a struggle. It was probably the biggest struggle we had was getting installers. And so I developed this process back in the early 2000s when I was with True Green. So, and a lot of you guys have heard my story, but I don't post ads. I go online and I find resumes of the people that I want. And I started doing this with True Green in 2004 in Chicago. And I've used this process everywhere I've gone. So when I do startups, obviously I put it into play here at Ashbusters. And what it's done is it's enabled us to kind of do things at will. Like when I said, it's time to go to Knoxville, we already had all the people. They were in place. Right. They had been recruited from other places, other states, other companies, came in, they mentored under us here in Nashville, and off to Knoxville they went. Same thing in Milwaukee. We opened up that one. The people were kind of in place, but then I was lucky enough to find some other ones. So people has never been our issue ever.
So let me clarify one thing. You said getting people from other companies. We do not steal people. We do not headhunt people. If they come to us, their ad, they either came to us directly or their ad was they were looking for a job. So I do want to clarify that because we've been accused of that, and it's completely false.
Thank you. I do not actively go out after other people's employees. I used to do that in my last life. I would actually go and park in a parking lot at 6 a.m. And when their installers took off, I'd follow them out. I don't do that anymore. But if somebody in our industry has their resume online, they're going to leave that company. Whether I hire them, the last guy I hired, he thought he was leaving the chimney industry. So when I reached out to him, he jumped on board and he was happy. So,
well, and that being said, I'm actually actively having some of my people, they're trying to pick some of our people off actively. Like we have people that are contacting our people to steal them. So it's that kind of a market out there. So, and you said something, and I know the answer to it, but just to clarify, anybody watching, you said, I don't place ads. And for a lot of people, that doesn't make sense. So could you just explain that one thing before we get into your process or what you do now?
Yeah, so I don't put help wanted ads on Indeed or ZipRecruiter or any of that. I was just telling Mark before we started here, right now, there are over 900 ads on Indeed for chimney sweeps, chimney technicians, chimney apprentices, you name it, chimney. There's over 900 ads. There's usually anywhere between 8 and 900 on Indeed any time of the year. This time of the year, spring, it never changes. But the only time I'll put an ad out is if I want to put my finger on the pulse of a market. So I'll do that occasionally, like we're in Knoxville or in Charleston, South Carolina. I'll put an ad on just to see if something's changed in the market. I don't pull any people off of those; they just don't work. So I have subscriptions that I buy in Indeed where I can go in and I have all these key search words that I use. And all I look for is people that have a trades background. I want somebody that's done roofing, that's done gutters, that's done framing, that's done flashing, that's done plumbing, electrical, roofing. And I have a bunch of these searches that I do. And all from those searches will come all these candidates that have posted their resume online. So what you're already doing there is you're already elevating the level of talent that you're going to get, because the people that do that are taking the time to create a resume and save it online. Those are the people that are a little more focused on the future, career development. They want to, they're looking for a long-term home. The ones that just go and apply and apply and apply are not really those higher achievers that we want. So I'm already kind of separating ourselves by doing that and going after those people. And I've got templates that I build out and then I send them out to people. And then they respond and that kind of starts the process. So, before this call, I was on a phone screen with a lady that I found over in Knoxville for an office manager. And, that kind of starts the process is the phone screen. And so it's a completely different process. I don't post ads. They don't work. Because again, anytime during the year, there's 800 to 900 ads all the time. And a lot of times it's the same company. It's the process that doesn't work. And then it's the messaging that doesn't work.
So talk about that. And I know, so just for everybody's understanding, Kent works for us full time, but he also has another business on the side hiring people for other companies. He's so good at it that he can do this stuff in his sleep, and I think he does. But he has a service that's out there for other people to use, and I'll post his information by the end of the show so you have it. But Kent, tell him. Okay, so you hire for us and you hire for others. What is some of the things you run into that were big ahas or big roadblocks for that other companies do that kind of shoots themselves in the foot? Because this is the hardest game in the world right now for us.
Yeah, so I think, it was probably easier for me to see coming from the outside because I remember, I was down in Chattanooga. My wife and I had moved down there from Wisconsin. And the company that I joined, the ethics, I couldn't work. I quit. And here we are in Tennessee, been here a year. I already had another job lined up in Wisconsin. My wife didn't want to go back because of the cold. And Mark, you had an ad up for COO. And I'm thinking, oh, COO, Nashville. Okay, I'll go to Nashville. Chimney company.
Is that real?
Honestly, that was my reaction. I was like, the job sounds kind of appealing, but in the South, the chimney company, is it a contract position? Is it a seasonal? It just, that word chimney was such a turnoff for me. And then, I did a bunch of research and the rest is history. But, I think the biggest observation that I have, and I bet almost everybody that's on this call or that's going to join at some point tonight, if I ask them a breakdown of their revenue, what they're going to tell me is 10% or less is sweep revenue, and the rest is construction, repair, and stuff. That's right. Pretty standard. Everybody I talk to, that's really it. But if you look at these 900 ads that are on Indeed right now, it's chimney sweep, chimney technician, chimney apprentice, chimney mechanic, chimney specialist. So it would almost be like Walmart putting help wanted ads for their tire center only. Tire technicians wanted. Well, they might have tire technicians, but the rest of the store would be bare because a lot of people don't want to be a tire technician. But
that's so interesting. Yeah.
Right? We're advertising for chimney whatever, but these guys are really going to be construction guys. We are a specialty construction. Is right. So the messaging right out of the gate of chimney whatever, chimney is part of my conversation. I don't mislead people, but I think that's the biggest problem that most companies have is the messaging right out of the gate about being a chimney tech. We really want construction guys is what we want. We're going to teach them chimneys and we're going to go through SureFire. We're going to give them in the field training. But, the majority of our guys that have come in have all gone over to the repair side. Now, yeah, we got some on the sweep side, but even our sweeps come, February, March, where we go into a leaky chimney campaign. Those guys are all doing repairs.
Yeah, right? That's right.
They're doing construction.
Yeah.
So I think that was the first thing that really struck me in the industry is we continue to advertise for chimney sweeps, but they're really going to be construction guys. So there's a huge pool of people out there that as soon as they see that, you've already lost them, right?
Right.
you've already lost them.
You said chimney's a dirty word.
In our industry, recruiting, chimney is a dirty word. It
Yeah.
is. And you know what? I'm proud to be part of this industry. I feel really proud that I've had the opportunity to bring so many guys into it. And you
Yeah.
watch their careers go now. They're buying their first houses, they're getting married, they're starting families. And I was part of bringing them into this. So I'm extremely proud of the industry. I just think the majority of us that are in the industry are sending the wrong message.
So let's talk about that for a second. There's business owners watching, there's employees watching. How much time, and I know this is a full-time plus job for you, but let's just say they I never spent really any time recruiting, and my results showed for that. But how much time do you think somebody in the business needs to devote to it? Or clearly they can hire you to help that. But let's just say they were going to do it themselves. What is a realistic time frame? And you're really awesome at it, but let's just say they're not awesome at it. They're just learning it. Like, what's a time commitment or monetarily that they'll need to know ahead of time?
If to get serious about this and to constantly have new people coming into your company, if it's not you, if it's not the owner, it has to be another high level person. And you need to spend at least 15 to 20% of your time as you start this program. Now, I still do all the recruiting, and we're getting to a point where I'm not going to be able to do that anymore. But I spend time on it every day. And
So you're saying an hour to 2 hours?
Hour to 2 hours, probably, because I've always got these automatic searches going. So I get emails every day of new resumes that come in. And even if I'm not looking for somebody, I still go through them, because what if there's somebody in there that I really want? I might just not have a spot for them right now, but I'm going to reach out to them and start a conversation. And then I got them on the hook, right, for when I do need them.
You know, I think it's important for people to understand too. You're always hiring, whether we're hiring or not.
Yes.
You're always hiring, and if the right person comes in, one, we'll water down the soup and make room for them. But two, you kind of keep them on the hook and say, "Hey, this is what's coming. This is what you've brought people in because." Right when we've lost somebody, like I got two guys that are waiting in the wings, and so you kind of keep a farm team back there for us.
Yeah, I do. If somebody goes down, we really don't feel it because we have so many guys in the system that fill right in. We could lose a lead technician, and there's somebody to fill that spot at all times. And I've got another guy on the outside to fill that spot for the guy that moved up. So
Yeah.
I'm always looking. I mean, this time of year is really busy for me because I'll bring on in all four of our locations 15 to 20 apprentices, in the next 6 weeks probably. And then after that, I'll go back down to half hour a day maybe, because I always keep those automatic searches going all year long. I'm always looking for talent, always.
I think the main takeaway from this, if you're listening, is that if you're an owner, this is a position in your company that has to be done just as much as answering the phones or writing the bills or doing accounts receivable or accounts payable. Any scheduling, this is a part that must be filled. This is a job inside your company. It's not like it used to be where you could put out an ad and you could have people walking right in the door and hire them. That ship has sailed. So talk about, you have an interesting take on what you see guys can't come available online. There's a couple more questions here. Let me ask these real quick. So Kyle says, "Hey, my new office manager is soaking in this info. Good episode." Yeah. Chad Murray says, "What is the budget then if no ads? We at Masters farm resumes or not correctly, LOL." So can you answer that question? What's a budget then if no ads?
The budget. So I spend the subscription, and you can get 100 contacts a month for $250. And if it's a veteran, that doesn't cost you anything if you're reaching out to a veteran. So when I say 100 contacts, you can send out to 100 resumes. If they say they're not interested, that'll be a credit back. So, and then if they don't get back or they say they are interested, that counts. So I don't spend probably more than 3,500 a year for all of our subscriptions that I have at Ashbusters. I've got several of them. So that about 250 at least will get you started in the process.
How many people or resumes roughly? I know you don't have this number exactly. Do you have to look at to get one person hired through? Like what do you think that ratio is roughly?
So that's a really good question right now because COVID has upturned everything on its head. It's and I've got a few clients that I'm working with, and what I've noticed, and they knew it. That's why they hired me. They said it's impossible now with COVID. So even me, what I noticed, I used to have about a 55% what I call hit rate. Is when I would reach out to people, 55% of them would get back to me. That's dropped into the 30s now. So I'm getting less getting back to me. And even if they do get back to me and then I call them, that number has gone way down. So
Right.
it's really activity generated. My wife, full time now, not for Ashbusters, but our business, that's what she does full time. She is searching resumes, reaching out to them. She's doing phone screens. Um, so that's kind of how that works.
So let's talk about that for a second. So talk about what you're seeing. You know, there's a bashing of young people, millennials. People don't want to work. People aren't interested in working. Give your take. You've probably seen more of this than anybody. What is your take on that line of thinking? Because I think that line of thinking hurts business owners. If you truly believe that there's nobody out there, and then if you advertise the way you used to, and the bottom of the barrel walks in, you're like, see, proved it. Why even like? I think it's a self-fulfilling prophecy if you believe that. So, what are you seeing?
It absolutely is, Mark. And if that were the case, I wouldn't be on your team because I'm charged with growing Ashbusters, right? That's my responsibility. So the way I do that is by bringing talent in. So if nobody wanted to work anymore, I would be a failure, right?
Right.
Because my success is riding on me being able to find these guys. What I would say to that is, and it doesn't matter what chimney group you go on Facebook, it always comes down to nobody wants to work anymore. What I would say is the people you're talking to don't want to work anymore. I don't talk to those people.
Right.
I don't put an ad up. They don't even
Yeah.
knock on our door, you
Yeah.
know, because I'm never forced to pick the best of the worst. I'm never in that position ever, because I work it all the time. I'm always talking to people. I've always got them on the hook, and I can be very selective. There was one I hired last year. At the end of the year, we were really in a spot. We needed this guy, and I'm like, well, I'm going to roll the dice on him. And we hired him, and the kid stuck out, and now he's working in our warehouse, and he's a rock he's
He
a rock
is.
star back there, right?
Yeah.
So, but this whole they don't want to work anymore. When you look at some of these mid-level managers that we've brought in and some of our new leaders and such, these guys, they're bouncing off the walls about Ashbusters and the industry and numbers. And I mean, I'm getting texts all the time at night, early in the middle of the night. I sold $46,000. It's the biggest. I mean, these
Yeah.
guys are all about it. They are
They
all.
are. They are, and they're about culture. They're about doing a good job. And if you ever, and Kyle says, hey, I don't know if he meant to say it like this. He says, I like young guys. But he clarified and said they're hungry and they are hungry. You just got to find them. Right. And so you've brought, that's the other thing is, the younger guys, the ones that you've brought in are so good and they're all into the online education and they're into the safety and they're into the, just really tracking and now they're into following, for reading a book or doing something. Um, and they are pushing the bottom up, right? Everybody's got to get better when the new guys coming in are fast and wow, and it's an exciting time. The group that you've found does not match the group that people think is out there in the workforce.
Yeah, I mean, we built our team from the bottom up, right? When I got there, we had legacy players, and we had
Yeah.
some guys at the bottom that weren't real strong. And the way to build that team is from the bottom up. So everybody I brought in the door as an apprentice pushed the talent up because they kept rising up through our system. And the guys that, didn't want to be part of it anymore because they saw the talent that was coming in, they left. They left on their own.
There were some that just said, "Hey, I can't keep up with these young guys. I don't know that there's a spot for me." Not that we wanted that. We try to move things around, but there's some, especially some apprentices, are like, these guys are moving past me. They're taking all the tests. They're getting certified before me. They're engaged in, and it did drop a handful of people out. But so let's just talk about what you see. There's a lot of resumes also on Indeed and out there, and you'll look at some of those resumes and say, "I would have never hired that guy," or "What were they seeing?" Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so I got some. I'll show you some examples. And the thing is it doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. If you haven't worked in the trades, in the elements, you're not going to work for Ashbusters.
Right.
Because we are moving way too fast. They say it all the time, Mark. We are a bullet train. We are. We move fast. Our model is bigger, better, faster, and we're going a million miles an hour. We can't be slowed down by guys that want to see if they like construction. They've had to do it. They've had to be up on roofs. They've had to work in the cold, the rain, the snow, the ice. And if they've done that, then they can come into Ashbusters. So,
Yeah, it reminds me of when, I used to hear all the time, "Hey, I keep business cards with me when I get good service at a restaurant, or I'm at a car lot, or someplace somebody was really amazing. I hand them my card and say, 'Hey, if you ever want to work for a company like mine, give me a call.'" We even had a great Uber driver come in. That has never worked. Those people, because they can serve you bread or because they can deliver you stuff and be funny, and that does not mean they can get 40 feet up in the air sweeping a chimney or with a grinder in their hand and a bucket of mortar. Like, those are different guys. It's not that you have to know kind of what it's a hard transition, because you showed some of these resumes, like they came from restaurant manager to chimney guy.
And I'm going to show a few here that I found. And like, these guys would have never been hired at Ashbusters because, again, if you haven't been up on a roof and you haven't done that, I'm not going to be your testing ground. I can't, because our model moves too fast. Hopefully you're able to see this one.
Let me just give you the whole screen.
Here's a candidate that you can see that somebody spent the money to get him CSIA certified. He's been with the company since last August. And now, after a chimney company has spent the money to train him, he's looking for a job already. But, here's some of the things. He was at this job for 2 months. There he was a year, temp 3 months, 2 months. And, let me talk about that for a second. In this day and age, people don't go to a company and after 35 years retire with a gold watch, right? I mean, since I got out of college, I think this is my 6th or 7th move. It's the last, I'm glad to say, but people move now, right? They're mobile. Right. But if they're moving like every couple of months, I'm not interested. That's telling me they're trying to find their way. They haven't found it yet. But I'm just not the guy that's willing to roll the dice on them. I'd like to, but I can't, right?
Right.
I mean, our guys hit the ground and they move. So, I mean, this is a bad example. This makes me sad because our industry can do better. We have to do better. We have a great story to tell. We're a great industry. But I feel bad that somebody hired him and spent this money to get him certified, and he's leaving. He's gone.
We've all had it happen. And so And that's just the worst. You pay all this money on education. We're talking education, education, education. Pay as much as you can, and then boom, guy gets some information, and he's out there either on the market or starting his own business. Which um, talk about what the next step. Okay, you find the good candidate, and then next thing you know, he's out on the street. What are you? Why is that? Well, let me ask a couple more questions here. Kyle says they want a career. You have to show them what they can become, and that is so true. Yet can be tricky in the chimney business, especially if you don't have a great operation or you can't set the vision of what the operation is going to be. And then lastly, and let's come back to Kyle's thing because I think that goes right along with what you were going to talk about. And Chad says, I was so impressed at CSI COVID mixer about Ashbusters employees. They're awesome. Yeah, it was a COVID mixer. Jeez. But talk about what Kyle said. I mean, I think he's on to something right there.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that I talk about when they come in. If they make it past my phone screen, the next is a face to face with me. And I talk about our growth. I talk about career path. I talk about the one thing our guys have seen a lot of in the last few years is a lot of movement, right? When 2017 we had 2 estimators in Nashville, we have 4 now. We have
Mm-hmm.
managers out in external markets that we didn't have before. We have managers in place now in Nashville that we didn't have before. So these guys come in and I'm talking all about that you could become a branch manager. You could become a sales guy if that's what you want. You could become a manager. And then not only do I not say it, but then they see it, right? It's not just me BSing them. They see it when they come in, they see guys being moved and they see movement and they see guys moving up. And all that does is create more opportunity for everybody behind them. So it's important. You can tell them what they can be, but then you better have that model that it reinforces. Because the one thing I will do, I give everybody the most accurate picture I can when I'm on the phone with them or face to face. I'll tell a new apprentice, you know what? You're going to work your ass off. I tell them that. There's going to be days you roll back in here at 8 o'clock at night and you're dead tired. You are going to do that. I'm going to tell
Yeah.
you it's going to happen.
Right.
But I will also tell you, you will make more money than you've ever made in your life.
Yeah.
You will buy a nice car. You'll be able to buy a home.
Yep.
And I tell them that it's going to be life changing for you because so many of these guys, and you know the ones I'm talking about, has been life changing, right?
Has been. Oh yeah.
House and starting families. And,
So I want to say something. If you're listening, say you're a smaller company and you listen to Kent talk, you're like, yeah, it's nice. You guys can do that, have all these things. But let me just back it up to when it was just me when I was very first starting. I had been a solo operator for 17 years, so I knew very much how to run a one man operation. And as I started to hire people, I'd have our morning meetings in my kitchen. Right. I remember having the guys at my house because my office was out of my garage, and that the guys would come into the kitchen and sit there and we'd have a quick meeting. I said, I promise you that we are not going to stay in my kitchen. We can't stay in my kitchen. We're going to outgrow my driveway is not good for FedEx deliveries, and I'm getting in trouble by all my neighbors and everything. But I promise you, we're having meetings in my kitchen, but the next year we're going to move, and every year I'm going to focus on growing this company. So I think if you don't have the things in place, you have to cast the vision. You have to show them what's coming and make sure you've actively are doing those things so they believe in your words, not just pie in the sky. Yeah, sometime we'll get out of my house and do this, or whatever your vision is, and whatever your vision for the people are is critical to get people to come in. And I think you do such an amazing job, Kent, of setting that vision for them from the outset.
yeah, and I think that's the other piece of this is it's the recipe. You and I talk about our recipe, right? When we're bringing people in. And the recipe is really the expectations, not the candidates, but yours as a business owner or manager. Your expectation that if you go onto this system that I use, you're going to have people in a week. It's not a realistic expectation. It's not going to happen. And you do have to, like Mark said, you're going to have to work this every day, or your office manager or somebody has got to do it every day. It can't just be, oh, it's busy season, time to hire, right? This is a year-round thing for us, right? The apprentices that are coming in right now will be lead guys next year.
Right.
And
There's
it's,
a process. They're dropped in. It's a known process by all. There's an apprenticeship program. There's these things that you must complete. There's certification through CSI. There's a whole thing on SureFire that you must do. It's a known process. Everybody knows it. It's not like this guy's the first guy to ever go through it, or you can choose not to do it if you want. Like there's none of that. It's a known process, and it starts everybody kind of like the Marines. You start off as a grunt. You start off in basic training, no matter how much experience you've had. And I think that's one of the reasons you've been able to bring people in from that were already chimney sweeps, because they all start back at zero. I think one of the mistakes I used to make was, oh, you've got a bunch of experience. Great. You jump right in a truck and start running it. And then they run it the way they used to. And now I got a conflict. But if I start everybody back off at zero for a while to get them to learn my process to make sure they're a good fit, like we have much better process now and ability to keep those people that have been chimney sweeps for a long time once they learn our system.
yeah, everybody comes in as an apprentice. Doesn't matter if you've been a chimney sweep somewhere else, and you're going on SureFire. Just like every other new hire, your first 30 days, we have modules laid out. You have to get through them before you can move on to the commission or job sharing that I call. So
Talk about then what you see. So you consult with a lot of companies. You are hiring a lot of people for a lot of companies. Tell people what makes it successful for you to drop somebody in, and maybe not successful to drop somebody in.
So I think it's that there's companies I've worked with in the past that once they come in, there's no roadmap at all. It's, well, okay, so what do you want? Well, get me an apprentice. Okay, bring an apprentice in. Now, what's his role going to be? Well, he's going to be a hybrid. Well, no, no. Everybody comes in as an apprentice. They may become a hybrid a year down the road, but it has to be very clear and very well defined. And I think part of our success is you had this apprenticeship thing in place when I got there. And I just played off of that, right? And I used the system that was there because it works. There's bringing people in from the outside, and I run into a lot of this, especially this time of year. People want to hire people and they're going to run a truck in 2 months. And guess what? For people that do that, they're going to be in the exact same spot next year that they're in right now. You might have to slow down to go faster.
I used to do that. I mean, honestly, if a guy came in, he was high speed, he could get through. I don't know if everybody thought he was high speed and he could test on the CSIA pass, and he was in a truck for me. And every once in a while that would work, but most of the time I was just herding cats and chasing problems and fixing stuff. A couple quick comments before. Kyle says, "I'm a small company, not for long though. I feel that morning meeting in the kitchen." David liked what Kyle said. Here's a question from Jake Loeffler. Jake says, I get a lot of applicants. I have trouble getting good applicants. The good applicants typically don't respond. When they do, many times they take another job due to pay. What do you do or say to make it a no-brainer for them to take the job? I want to pay a new guy more than I pay someone who has put in. I don't want to pay a new guy more than I pay someone who has put in time to learn the trade.
Yeah. So first of all, Jake, I'm assuming you're probably posting ads. By your comment of I get a lot of applicants. Are you posting?
So he can respond, but so let's just assume that he is.
So that you're exactly right. When you post, you're not going to get good applicants. You're going to get typically people that just go job to job, apply. So that's why my process is different, and that you're going to get a higher level of person right out of the gate because of the process. Okay, because I'm looking for them. They have the background that I want. It isn't just okay, I got an ad going and now I'm going to hire the best of the worst. That doesn't happen. So the other piece of this, I'm not saying that everybody I reach out to gets back to me. They don't. It's a numbers game. It's activity generated. It's like sales, really, right? If you've ever been involved in a sales culture in your life where you had to develop your own leads and stuff, it's all activity generated, and this is no different. Um, but what we do is our people come into our company at an hourly rate for 30 days. And that's a pretty wide range because it depends on their skill set. If I'm bringing a mason into our company, I'll probably pay him 25, 26 bucks an hour. And I'm not worried about it because I know what my cost is going to be over 30 days. He's going to get 15 hours of overtime probably this time of year. So he's going to get 60 hours of overtime and then his 160 hours. So I know what my cost is to bring him in. And then he's going over to commission anyway, right? After 30
Right.
days.
Yep.
So I already know what that cost is. And once he goes to the commission, he's going to make what everybody else is going to make with that skill set for a mason. That's what he's going to make. If it's an apprentice, I think my last apprentice I brought in, don't remember what market it was, but I think it was about 18, 19 bucks an hour. And again, he's going to get some overtime. At 30 days, he's going to go to commission. Now, let me just say something about commission. Just like chimney is a dirty word, commission is a dirty word when you're talking to trades guys. It just is, right? I mean, they've never been on it. They don't understand it. Or if they know anybody that's did it, their buddy sold cars on commission and almost starved. That's what starts going through their head. I never talk about commission at all. The way I phrase it is once the 30 days is done and you've passed the SureFire courses that you need to pass, you're going to go over to our job sharing, like all of our veterans and our lead guys get. So let me give you an example of that. If you're making $18 an hour on an 8-hour day, you're going to make 96 bucks or whatever it is. If you're an apprentice working on a $3,500 job, right, you're going to make over $200. So you're going to double. And Mark, the owner, arrived at that because when we were a chimney sweep, we weren't job costing. There wasn't anything to cost other than his labor, right? Well, now we're a construction company. So, we have to job cost and then that so that if we had them hourly, people milk the clock. So that's why we do this costing where we share in the profit of the job because our guys will stay on schedule and we don't have to reschedule customers all the time. And
Exactly.
I don't say commission because their eyes get like that when you say commission, right?
Yeah.
But it's funny because by the end of the first week, they're in my office going, so when can I go to commission?
I know it.
It's in the field, right? And all the guys are talking commission. You mean I would have made 400 bucks today? Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I go on it? Nope. You got to get
Right. You got to get through. You got to get through the 30 days. You got to get checked off, and then you can go. And sometimes they got a big job on like day 29, and they would make a ton of money. Like, man, can I move a day early? I've done everything. Can I get on this? No. It is what it is. We signed up. So there's a bunch of questions coming in. So let's take these. John White says, there was a question before that, and then I'll get back to John asked first. Hey, Mark, do you offer a course from start to finish when you hire a new sweep? Yes. So we have the apprentice steps in SureFire that you enter into apprentice step 1 all the way through 5. It's 0 to 30 all the way to 120, and then there's tests, and then there is a process for them, and then depending on how Kent brought them in, they may have been brought in to go in certain divisions. So sometimes he brings them in with a division. So if it's gas division, they'll go through the NFI course. They'll go through the gas stuff on SureFire. They'll have to get tested and they'll run. And basically, again, it's always a year process. We did have one high-speed guy last year in gas that he was already NFI certified, got it. He flew through the SureFire stuff quick, and he got in a truck before the 1-year apprentice. And so, yes, we do have that, John. If you want to reach back out to me later, I can. Tabitha has that, and you have her contact of that process. He then asks, also, Kent, what does Kent get to bring people in the door? Do you have a course available? So Kent, maybe you can talk about your own business. If you want to hire Kent, do you want to talk about that here, Kent? How that works?
Sure, I can do that. And I'm not sure if that question is for that or something else as far as what I do to get people in our door. I think maybe.
Well, there is a course on SureFire that shows his Indeed process. You did it a year and a half ago. It's
Yeah,
on there.
that's on there. But the other thing is, and I talk about this a lot, and it's company story. You have got to build a company story. I don't care if you've been doing this 2 years or 30 years. You have a company story. And that's what I use. That's kind of my hook, right? When I reach out to these candidates, it's not, oh, come to work for Ashbusters. I have a big company story talking about Mark starting the company back in the 1980s as a one-man show. And I bring them all through the whole history about, we've been voted a top workplace the last 3 out of 4 years. Inc. magazine, we've made fastest growing private companies in the country the last 2 years. The Torch Award for BBB. And some of you don't have that, but you still have a story, right? And I work with smaller companies that, a guy was a mason and started doing chimneys on the side, and now he started a chimney company. Well, he has a story to tell. He was a mason, he got hooked on the chimney side, and now kind of like reminds me of a small scale Ashbusters. He's bringing these younger guys in, and I'm watching the team that he's building. It's great. And these guys are coming in, and now they're getting leadership roles, and they're buying their first house and stuff like that. But your company story has got to be told. And it doesn't matter because it's funny, I had this phone screen tonight for an office person. My first question is always, well, have you ever heard of us? And I said, have you done any background? She goes, I have. And I said, oh, well, let me tell you more about it. And I go right into company story before I even ask her one question about her, other than how you doing, thanks for taking the time to talk to me.
Hey, Kent, real quick, something's happening to your mic. It's getting a little muffled sounding. I don't know if it's moved away from you. It got a little muffled. So,
okay, is this better?
Yeah, much better. Can you repeat what you just said?
Yeah, so the company story is what I use when I reach out to people. But then even when I pick up the phone and I'm having a phone screen, I ask them in Nashville, when I say, have you ever heard of us? I always get the same thing. Yeah, I see your vans all over town or your trucks. And it doesn't matter. I still go into my company story. If you're not telling your company story, you lose. I can tell you, I live kind of in a outskirts of Murfreesboro, and I drive through a warehouse section where there's a lot of warehouses, and there's not a sign on every corner. They're everywhere. Warehouses, no experience hiring for $22.50 an hour. You're up against all of that. In one of our, we just opened up Wisconsin. There's a convenience store up there that is starting people at $18.50 an hour and free health care. I mean, you better tell your company story. If you can't write one, find somebody. You need to find a wordsmith to put a company story together.
Yeah.
Because it needs to be told. You're going to lose at this game every time if you don't have a company story.
A couple questions. Jake asks, what's the hourly rate for someone who has a construction background that knows nothing about chimneys?
So it's really interesting. I've got several clients that we're staffing up now in the Northeast. And, in one of these markets is new for me. I haven't worked in it before, so I didn't know what to expect. But every person that we interviewed this weekend, yes, we worked all weekend, interviewing, they were like in the $16 to $17 an hour range. So they're not very hard to pick off. They weren't making a lot. And really what these guys are looking for, the guys that I bring in, these guys are looking for an opportunity. They're looking for a future. They're looking for these guys typically that you pull out of the trades. They've been treated very poorly. They've been called names. They've been lied to. I'm going to give you $1 an hour. That was a year ago. They still haven't gotten it. They don't have health benefits. They don't have a future. They're just looking for an opportunity that they've never had. So you don't necessarily have to pay $25 an hour to get a good apprentice in. They're out there. and finding them by not putting ads up. I think, again, that's the key.
So Michael Tinning, this is great. Michael is a new employee of ours in Charleston. And Michael says, Jake, as a new hire, I found growth and commission earnings very exciting. I am ambitious, so the thought for my pay potential is reflected by my effort makes me want to put even more into it. And Michael is one of those guys who came on and he's like, okay, who's the fastest person through SureFire ever in this company? And I'm like, well, I've never gauged that, and I've never actually had that question, and I absolutely loved it. And then he also says, to verify what Kent said, Michael says, as Kent said, though, I never heard the word commission until I started training. And our guys call it commission, but that's not a we just I think what Michael's really getting at was he's a high speed guy. He wants to work. He show me the way to do more faster, more efficiently, and we had a process that matched his ability or his want to do that, and it made it very exciting for him to have. He could almost, whether you have all the stuff in place as a business or not, if you've got a structure that they can build around and they can go at their own speed, that's as exciting as anything. And lastly, proof that there's other guys that have done it. You're not pie in the sky in them here. So Alan says, if you're on SureFire, Brianna will set you up learning paths for you and will even copy marks for you if you like. So anybody that wants to see our process, it's on SureFire, or if you're not on SureFire and you want to just do a demo, go to surefire.online and hit contact Brianna, and she will show you exactly what we do on these steps. And what Kent really was saying is, like, other companies that don't have a process set up, it's harder to hire, for one, but secondly, it's harder to keep. You spend all this money and time to bring somebody in the door, and then they're gone. And because we have a known process by all, people stay with us, and he doesn't have to constantly churn for new people. Kyle says, been looking into SureFire for my guys. Yep, I highly agree. Bart Ogden says, what's a typical split in the percentage for lead with an apprentice or repair, install, sweep, inspect? So a little bit of a different topic where we're talking about paying them, but you can go ahead and talk about it. I don't care.
Okay. Hey, Bart, how are you doing? Good to see you. So really kind of what we try to stay at for commission is 30% total, right?
And that's honestly high. We really, to be clear, we really want to be lower. We started higher, and it's hard to back down. So when he's going to tell you these numbers, we think they're high. Please adjust for you. The main thing to know is that there's a known system by everybody that works for everybody. But please do not take our numbers right here and apply them right to your business. I would highly recommend, if he's going to tell you ours, just lower them down a little bit, because it's hard to go the other way. But go ahead, Ken.
Yeah, they are high, but our sales guys or estimators, they get 10%. I think a better number there would be 8% with some goals put in place where maybe they get 6% and then there's a monthly goal and they get an extra 7 or a year end. And Bart, I'd be happy to talk to you about that later. I know we have to talk this week, but so our split is 10 on ins for the sales guy, 13 for the lead installer, and then the apprentice gets 7. So we're at 30.
And so on that, you can back out some high cost of goods stuff before you pay that. Some of our stuff is on the gross, and some of it is on the net after we've backed out, like the wood stove and things like that. So without getting into details, I think a good number is somewhere between 22 and 27%, on your, before you pay taxes and all that. And 30 or under would be ideal. I've seen people really lower that down a lot. So that's kind of where we are on that. So then this is the question by John. So to be clear, we can hire Kent to consult us.
Yeah, so I'll just talk about that real quick too. I was doing it in addition to working at Ashbusters, and it really became too much for me. I was traveling a lot and I was just working all the time. Well, when we moved to Nashville, My wife, Julie, went to work for a guy that Mark knew years ago who has a remodeling business in Nashville. So I trained her on my recruiting and she started doing it there and was very successful. And she was working from home a couple days a week. And as he grew and got bigger, we wanted her in the office every day. So I just told her, I said, you know what, quit and we'll start our own thing. I'll fire up Knowledge Things. That's the name of our company. And that's what she's doing full time now. So I got home tonight. I walked in the door and she had two more resumes. She handed to me and she goes, they're good to go. You're going to Zoom interview them tomorrow night. So if they get past my Zoom, then everything will be handed over to the company that hired us. So, and I can work with you on everything from full blown recruiting to taking you through some consultation if you want to set up your own system. I'm available for all of it. I can do everything from, again, telling you how it works to just full blown where we just hand you candidates. We email you, we do their workplace behavior, we do a phone screen, then we do a Zoom, and then you get them. So thanks, Mark.
Yeah, I had to correct. I typed it in while you and I were talking. I had commas instead of periods. So it's kent.knowledgewins@gmail.com, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so they can reach out to you, and you can see if it's a good fit, see if it would work. You were going out working with companies in their business. Right now, you're really just delivering candidates and to them. And do you do consulting still, or what do you do with them?
Yeah, I can do that too. If you want to talk about some growth things, or right now I'm really focusing on the hiring thing because with COVID, it's turned everybody's world upside down. It's harder than it's ever been. And that's kind of why I got out of going out and showing people how to do it. Because once I would leave, the activities would go on for a while and then they'd stop and then they'd say, well, it doesn't work. Well, that's the only way I hire at Ashbusters, and I've been there 4 years and I continue to hire. So it does work. But by us offering the full service of us doing everything and saying, here's 3 people you need to talk to them, I think it's
Right.
better management for everybody.
Yeah. So, I mean, just to brag on you a little bit too, Julie started working for my buddy who was pretty much a very small contractor, and he couldn't get out of his own way. And one day he comes in to visit me. He needed to buy a damper from me. He and I started about in Nashville about the same time, early 90s. And he came into our office and he literally started gotten teared up. I'm like, are you okay? He's like, man, I can't believe this has happened. I haven't seen you in a long time. I'm looking around, you've got this business and all these people, and I'm still in the same place I was 20 years ago. And he said, well, I need to change. I've just seen my future just flash, and I feel like I've missed it. And so he came, he went through a blue collar university, he hired your wife, he talked to you, and man, you guys changed his business completely. And I've seen you do it with a lot of companies. When somebody really will invest in bringing people in and invest in what you're bringing them to, man, your whole life, your whole business changes. So, a couple more questions from Jake. Jake says, so the company story is what you fill the gap with between 17 to 2250.
So again, it really depends on where they're at right now. If they've been on construction for a year, they're going to be a $17 guy. But again, I don't get too hung up on that because I'm only paying it for 30 days. And then they're going over to a percentage anyway.
We'll pay whatever they want, really, to start if they're a good candidate.
Michael, that's not true. We don't do that. No, if it's really somebody like a mason and I'm really hurting in a certain market for a mason, I'll go $30 if I have to.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be a percentage anyway. And I can tell you, when they know they're going to a percentage, the conversation changes from that hourly rate. It just goes away. You start talking about, oh, well, we've got lead guys that are making,
That's right.
these numbers out there. And that's where the conversation shifts to.
Yeah. So Jake says, what I'm getting from this is that the person speaking to the potential new hire needs to be extremely convincing. That's a fact.
I mean, I think, I've referred to this as sales, to some degree, like this office lady I talked to tonight. I do really give them, the one thing I will never do is mislead anybody. I was misled early in my career. My wife wasn't working. I had two little girls. The wife was going to make all this money, and I jumped ship. And then he lied about
Hey,
everything.
Kent, something's happening with your mic again. Whatever you're saying, it sounds like you're underwater.
Too far away.
Yeah.
Is it better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So I never mislead anybody because that's not going to work. If I mislead people, they're going to quit. They're going to get angry. It's not going to work out. Um, so it really is about the company slowing down and what's getting down the road for them. But I never mislead. I've never had one person at Ashbusters come back to me and say, you know what, I'm not making the money you told me I was going to make. That's never happened.
Right. Yeah. Again, something you're right up on the mic, and it's getting muffled. So we're closing out. I want to say a couple things. Michael says too late on percentage now. Jason Fox says, yeah, for direct sales, we went 7% with bonus for X amount, and yeah, take the cost of materials off before you pay out commissions, or are you paying commission for buying stuff? So again, I hate to get in. That's a whole different conversation of how to pay people and get into your percentages. And I can talk about that on another SureFire. But I think you've got to figure out what works for you. It's got to be known by the people bringing in, and you've got to back it up with some days they make huge paychecks. Sometimes their paychecks are just gigantic, and sometimes they're not awesome. But you got to have more really good paychecks and bad ones, and then you're getting to a system that works. Kaylee, who's our office manager in South Carolina, says, Jake, convincing maybe, but honest for sure. I personally was hired by Kent, and from the start, Kent was up front. He shared the story and he gave me insight to the company and how it worked. I was excited to join the company. Thank you, Kaylee. Yes, and we were excited to have you, and you've been an awesome member and seen us grow down there from a pretty crappy office. Was she in the bad office and moved to the good one, or she?
Just for a little bit, I think.
Yeah, she was. She got the better move to the new building.
Right, right.
Uh, Jason says you have to spend about 45 to 51 to get a mason around here. Yeah, I mean whatever it takes. I mean Kent has full ability to do whatever it takes to bring people in, and he makes that judgment call because it's what's more expensive, never seeing the great guy or not paying enough, and he never comes in, or you paid too much for a bad guy in 30 days or 60 days. Like for us, it's way more expensive to never see the superstar, right? Those people bring in millions. I might spend extra thousands on a bad guy, but those great people bring in millions.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that we haven't talked about, Mark. And we're kind of going off this road on commissions, but you know, I do work with a lot of companies too that say, "Well, we can't afford to pay that." I was working with one company that said they couldn't afford to pay apprentices more than 15 an hour. If that's really the case, you don't have a hiring problem. You have a pricing problem. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
As competitive as the workplace is right now, if you think you're going to grow a company bringing people in at 15 an hour, it is not going to happen. I don't care
That's
what
so true.
you
Yeah.
have
I
a
mean,
pricing problem.
raise your rates. I mean, if you get a price increase on your materials, you got to raise your rates. If you get a price increase on your insurance, you got to raise your rates. When you got now you've got a price increase on your labor, you have to raise your rates so that you can fulfill the demand. You can't go the other way and go, well, I guess I can't pay that much. They could charge 100. You could pay out $100 an hour if you charge enough. Like you're seeing it the wrong way. You've got to match the business for the reality of today. And trust me, the people are still coming. The phones are ringing off the hook. We've raised our prices 6 times this year alone.
Right, and I don't mean on the pricing, just one thing real quick. I don't mean the price of your suite. That you can leave it low, leave it wherever it is. It's your repairs that you really need
Yeah.
to look at and price correctly.
So Jake says, Kent, I'm calling you tomorrow.
Sounds good, man.
I can't see who this is, but I'm sure I know them because I went through blue collar in 2018. One of the biggest takeaways was changing from hourly to commission. Really get your guys to think like the owner. Yeah. Changed my business completely. Then hired Kent or so a year later, game changer. Guys, the only reason we do this is to show you a different way to do it, show you a way that's working, and to try to move this whole industry forward. I'm not trying to tell, I could totally be quiet and not tell anybody what we're doing and keep doing it. What I'm trying to do on a lot of these is just help people understand there's a different way to run business. And if we just keep talking to ourselves and on Facebook groups or whatever, and we don't really reach out, we're just going to be a big echo chamber. And if we think bigger, this whole thing can be a lot bigger if you want. If not, it can be the most amazing little business that there is. But I like the idea, and Kent has hit on it. It's so exciting to bring new people into this trade and to get them excited about chimneys and to get them excited about having a different life and something that really blue collar work is very rewarding for. And so I hope you guys have enjoyed this time with Kent. Got a couple more things. Kaylee, she says yes when I was bragging on her. And she was in the crappy building at first. Alan Rush says, I work with people that charge $500 per chimney sweep and $3,000 a day per labor per crew and still stay booked out. Raising your prices right now is not a problem. Just do it then and hire better people. Pay them more and change a lot of lives. Oh, Alan, why does he just always, he's so smart. So Kent, let's wrap this up. Thank you for spending the time with us. What do people need to know? Just boil it down to what you can do for companies.
Again, if they don't want to go with the full package of what we deliver candidates to them, they can hire me on an hourly basis, and I can walk them through, and they can set it up themselves. There's some drawbacks to that. If you've never done it before, it can be a little difficult in the beginning to get it up and get it going. I have also done some ads in some markets if that's the way you want to go, but it's a completely different format. I can help you put that together too. I will tell you that anybody that reaches out to me right now or tomorrow, you're going to go on a waiting list because I don't want a lot of clients at once. Our goal is to deliver candidates back to the company as quickly as we possibly can. However, if you do contact me, we have a conversation, we feel like it's going to be a fit, you'll get in a waiting line and a waiting list, and we'll just go in line as they come in. So I'm probably pretty close to finishing 2 companies up probably by the weekend, so that'll give 2 more vacancies.
So realistically, time frame, if somebody needs to bring somebody on, they're probably looking at least 30 days from the time you engage them, because there's a setup, there's a time. Then if they got to give 2 weeks notice to somewhere else or move them in, like they kind of need to move on it as soon as they can if they're trying to hire for this busy season coming up. Although there's really no busy season, nobody has slowed down. So but the phone is actually going to pick up, and you need to raise your rates and bring people on because your people will get tired. But is that a realistic time frame, about 30 days?
It's going to be all of that right now.
Yeah.
Again, it's harder than it's ever been, but it takes us time. From the time we come up with the agreement, we get everything in place, then we start building your company's story for you. So by the time we do that and we get everything going, it's a good 30 days. It could be, 60 days. It just depends. But 30 days is a good guide.
Yeah. Kyle says that's what he did with help from Mike Facey and Chad Murray. Yeah. We all need help. Those are 2 really good guys. Mike's done a great job of hiring people, and so is Chad. So, well, Kent, I appreciate your time. I appreciate your wisdom, and you have changed this industry. I feel lucky to have you on our team, but there's a lot of people that you've helped on their team, and I love that you have that heart to help people. Kent's not really a huggy feely guy, but I'm working on him. I'm changing him into it.
I'm huggy like a cactus.
Yeah, he's very, very huggy like a cactus. All right. Thank you, Kent. I appreciate it. Have a good night. All right, guys. Wow. I hope you enjoyed that. Kent, I think he's the best there is. I really do. He's changed so many. I forgot to turn my lights on here. I see it's getting darker around me, but he's changed our business tremendously. And if Kent can help you and you can bring Kent on, that's fantastic. If not, the other big takeaway is it has to be somebody's role in the business. And I'd recommend it not being the owner's role. I was terrible at hiring. I hired everybody. I've said it a million times. I'm the worst guy. I don't know how we got to the size we got before I brought on Kent. It was just by the grace of God. Um, but I did. The good thing was I did have a system built. So when Kent came in, he could plug people into the system. You have to have that. And then you have to have somebody that does this as part of your as their job description is to bring candidates in. So you have, you might even take some of your budget from your marketing, take some of your marketing budget and move it to recruiting. I know companies have taken half their budget or even all their budget from marketing and moved it into recruiting, because most people don't have a marketing problem right now. Forgive me, Taylor, hell, but a lot of people have more of a recruiting problem than they have a marketing problem. So understand where your dollars are being spent and where you can realize it back to make the company grow if that's what you want. All right, guys, that's my time. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We will see you next week. And lastly, if you're a SureFire subscriber, you're going to get an email from Jake Loeffler about our SureFire office hours, about more business talk, detailed about how to use the program or anything else you want to talk about. All right, guys, we'll talk to you soon. See ya.